Alright, so recently some huge matchups have been announced, including Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira seemingly being confirmed, alongside Movsar Evloev facing Pico making his debut in May. But first, I'd appreciate if you guys could like and subscribe. We're really close to 600 subs. Anyway, let me get into it. Now, starting off with Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira, okay, this one isn't like concrete or anything, but it is very likely that this is the next fight for Ilia Topuria, because recently a Spanish broadcast came out and announced that Ilia Topuria will be moving up a weight class and facing Charles Oliveira. Now, this isn't exactly the most solid evidence or anything, but Ilia Topuria's last fight against Max Holloway got revealed in basically the exact same way, with the French-Canadian broadcast revealing that he would be fighting Max Holloway at UFC 306. Now, obviously, they didn't actually fight at UFC 306, they fought at UFC 308, but apart from that, the statement was fairly accurate. And now this fight has been revealed in a very similar way. Now, obviously, the Spanish broadcast I don't believe is official or anything, so maybe these tortas are just yapping, but I'm inclined to believe them because this fight is very likely to be next. With Islam Makhachev seemingly waiting until UFC 315 to make his next decision, this fight actually makes a lot of sense, since Islam is very unlikely to be fighting at International Fight Week, and Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira is an absolutely massive fight, so it makes a lot of sense if they put this on the International Fight Week card instead. And since Islam doesn't want to fight Ilia until he's fought a lightweight, it makes a lot of sense to get this fight out of the way now, and then make Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev in like October in Abu Dhabi. Also, Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira have been beefing like crazy recently, so I do think that the UFC are going to try and make this fight as soon as possible, get out of the way, so then they can make Islam versus Ilia at some point. Now, I think this matchup is very interesting because Charles Oliveira is probably the toughest matchup for Ilia outside of Islam Makhachev, because the thing is, with Ilia Topuria's style, the reason he's able to fight the way he does is because if someone tries to take him down, he believes that his jiu-jitsu is good enough to where the person on top of him isn't really a threat. But you can't really do that with Charles Oliveira, because Charles Oliveira is obviously the way better grappler here. So on top of Charles Oliveira being the more skilled jiu-jitsu practitioner out of the two of them, Charles Oliveira is also going to be the way bigger and probably stronger guy here, which is the advantage that Ilia had over most guys at 145. So on the ground, Ilia Topuria is going to be the less skilled and the smaller guy here, which I think is going to be really bad for him if this actually does hit the canvas. Well, obviously Charles Oliveira does get hit a lot, he's been dropped in a lot of fights, but against Michael Chandler he looked really patient, a lot more reserved, his striking looked really good. So I do think the likelihood of Charles Oliveira just getting absolutely brutally chinned in the first round has like dropped by half, but there's still a pretty high chance. Okay, Ilia Topuria is a very skilled boxer with insane power. I think the chance of him just flatline KOing Charles Oliveira in the first round is still pretty high, and it's probably what I would pick. But still, I think Charles Oliveira is probably the toughest fight for Ilia Topuria outside of Islam, and I really do hope that this is the next fight for Ilia Topuria, because I'm pretty excited to see this fight. So hopefully it is confirmed, and hopefully the Spanish broadcast is right. But our next fight we have is Movsar Evloev fighting Pico, a guy from Bellator and PFL, making his debut. This is probably some of the most disrespectful matchmaking I've seen in a very long time from the UFC, because Movsar Evloev is a guy who kind of deserves a title shot. Okay, he's been working very hard, he's beat very high levels of competition, and then they're gonna give him a guy from the PFL who's not even a champion. Okay, this guy isn't like some PFL dominant champion coming over. This guy's like 13-4 or something. He's not even champion, he's just some guy. Like, there's no way that the UFC is serious with this matchmaking. Okay, Pico, he does have some sort of name. Okay, he's not like a complete nobody. Now, this fight might be cancelled or not even real in the first place. Okay, Movsar seems to be wanting to wait until UFC 314 until he decides his next fight, which is absolutely fair considering both champions seem to want to call him out after they win the belt. But I still want to talk about it anyway, because the fact that this fight was even made is absolutely insane to me. Now, a lot of people are theorizing that the reason they made this fight was to give Movsar Evloev a finish, which I think that's the most disrespectful thing they could even do. I mean, Movsar has been having wars almost back to back recently with Aljo and then Arnold Allen, so for them to give him some absolute bum from Bellator as a fight to like hype him up or something makes absolutely no sense, especially because this plan is not going to work. Okay, I don't know if they think that Movsar is just going to get like a flying knee TKO in the first round. That's not going to happen. Okay, Movsar basically has like little to no finishing ability, kind of like Marab. Like, Marab has basically only like one finish, and outside of that is just straight decision after decision after decision. So the only way that Movsar is realistically going to get a finish in this Pico fight, if it does happen, would literally be like round 4 or 5, Pico might gas or something, and then Movsar gets one of those like tired TKOs where the guy just basically like falls over and just gets hammer fisted until the ref just stops the fight or the guy just gets subbed. So Dana White really needs to stop gooning and making the worst fight ever. Okay, this is terrible matchmaking. Nobody wants to see this. They should just let Movsar sit out, since he's probably going to fight for the title in like a couple months anyway, and this guy barely ever fights. So if he goes and fights someone now, this guy's probably going to fight for the title in like 2026. So I just think they should just let him sit out for now. Now, the final fight I want to talk about is Carlos Prates versus Garry. Now, this is a pretty old fight by now, but Carlos Prates is one of my favorite fights, and I didn't get to talk about it when it was announced, so I want to talk about it now. This is a huge step up in competition for Carlos Prates. Okay, I don't really know what the UFC was thinking. Okay, this is is a very good fight, don't get me wrong, but if you have a guy like Carlos Prates, you should be giving him the easiest matchups possible, okay? The guys who are going to make it the most fun, and Ian Garry is not one of those guys, okay? Ian Garry's entire game plan is going to be just holding down Prates, maybe trying to take him down, but probably going to be trying to hold him against defense, just make it an absolute clinch fest. And this fight is really close, okay? It's a really good fight, but at the same time, I don't think that Ian Garry is going to try and make it entertaining at all. The guy just keeps getting more boring and boring every single time, okay? Since the Neil Magny fight, this guy's just become an absolute like bum, okay? I know he had a really close fight with Shavkat, but that wasn't exactly like a huge barn burner or anything. Now, Ian Garry is a very good fighter, okay? I'm not saying that he's a bad fighter, I just think he's really boring, and I don't think he's the greatest fighter to have against Carlos Prates, because Carlos Prates is like a highlight machine right now, okay? He's getting so many KOs, he's like one of the coolest fighters on the roster, and I think Ian Garry understands that he cannot strike with Carlos Prates, okay? There's very few people at welterweight that can actually strike with Carlos Prates, and the only guy who could probably outstrike him is like MVP, and that's it. So I really do think that this fight could be super boring if Ian Garry just tries to take him down over and over again, which I don't think he'll be able to even take down Carlos Prates, because Carlos Prates has decent takedown defense. So I really do hope that Carlos Prates gets the round 1 KO, because otherwise this fight could be absolute dog shit. So that's all the fights that I wanted to talk about today. Sorry if I sound like shit, okay? I'm really sick, but I wanted to put something out because I just haven't been uploading any videos recently for some reason, because I went from like 5 videos a week to now like 2 videos a week at most, which is kind of crazy. And I wanted to lock in at the start of April, and then the moment I uploaded that Pantoja video, like a couple days after that, I got sick and I couldn't upload anything, which is really annoying because I had a lot of good ideas and a lot of stuff I wanted to post for the UFC 314 fight week, but then I couldn't because my voice is like really bad right now. But going forward, I'm actually going to be locked in, bro. I'm going to be uploading like every single day if I can, okay? I'm going to be uploading like way more than I have been recently at least, so look forward to that, I guess, okay? Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, even though my voice is absolutely horrible. Also, I saw that ITP also got sick a couple days ago. This guy's literally my clone. But yeah, that's going to be it. Thanks for watching, like, subscribe. Alright. Finna take that lounge truck to Japan. Get your bands up. Yes, you can.